Most people think Minecraft's end dimension is boring, with just islands of endstone and the dragon fight. But over the years, people have discovered seeds with almost impossibly rare features, from an island with no endstone to the biggest end city ever found. Today, we're uncovering the rarest seeds ever found in Minecraft's end dimension. So let's start with the main island. We all know that every seed generates a different end island, but did you know some islands are rarer than others? Such as on this seed, which has an end island with no endstone whatsoever. This happened because every island has a random amount of endstone, and this one just happened to generate with none at all, which is incredibly rare. But what about the island with the most endstone? Well, that record goes to the one on this seed, which generated with almost 2.3 million blocks of endstone. And keep in mind, your average island only has between 600,000 to 1 million endstone. Believe it or not, an island as big as this is estimated to be a 1 in 700 million chance. But now let's move on to some completely broken islands, such as the one on this seed, where the exit portal is floating off the ground. This happened because a single endstone block generated higher than ground level, which forced the whole portal to generate higher as well. But at least this portal's easy to see, because opposite to that, imagine coming to the end but finding no exit portal at all. That's exactly what happens on this seed, due to this single air block where the portal would usually generate, forcing it to spawn all the way down at the bottom of the world. And if you were playing this on a version below 1.21, then the portal would be completely cut off, making it impossible to leave the end. So far, we've seen one-of-a-kind islands, but these can actually get even stranger. Like the one on this seed that's somehow generated looking like a super flat world. And after seeing this, I wouldn't be surprised to see slimes jumping around here. But now, what about an end island that's technically two islands? Since the one on this seed has a huge ravine going through it, making it look like it was cut in half. And speaking of double islands, this next seed also technically has two islands, but this time the second one is floating above the first. However, the strangest island of all is the one on this seed, which has an exit portal sunken into the landscape, creating this rare circle shape around it. What makes this island even more rare is that it also has a full-on cave inside it. And keep in mind that caves aren't even supposed to generate in the end dimension, so maybe this is a hint from Mojang that the end update is coming soon. Now that we've seen the rarest main islands, let's go a bit further away to the outer end. This is where you'd usually go to find end cities and obtain the elytra, but while exploring, you'll encounter these end gateways randomly scattered throughout the world, which you can use to return to the main island. And this seed in particular has an unusual concentration of these gateways, with 4 of them spawning in the same location. This is actually the world record for the most gateways ever found in one place, making this extremely rare, but also kind of creepy, like you're being told to turn back. But let's keep going even further out, where we'll find this end city, which happens to be the biggest end city in all of Minecraft, with 31 rooms and 19 pathways. And despite this being one of the rarest structures ever found, you probably wouldn't want to travel here since this is located tens of millions of blocks away from spawn. But luckily there is a closer city that you can get to, on this seed, which has the smallest end city possible that still has an end ship. It's like a baby compared to the previous one, and this ship is so low that it's almost touching the chorus fruit, making this one of the few times where it's easier to pillar straight up to the ship rather than go through the city. But believe it or not, end cities can get even rarer, because on this seed, 2 cities are in the middle of a war, and they've both sent their ships to destroy each other. And in the middle of the battle, you can even grab yourself this naturally dropped elytra from the ship that's half destroyed. And you'll probably need that elytra, because on this next seed, an end city only generated with half a ship, meaning it has no elytra at all. This happened because the ship generated outside of the 17 by 17 chunk radius of the end city, and so it got cut off. But it's still not as unlucky as this next end city, which has a walkway that leads to a ship, but the ship is completely missing because this branch of the city is so long that the entire ship generated outside of the allowed area. Those aren't the only strange ships though, as on this seed, this ship straight up crashed into another end city. Yeah, I don't think you can park there, pal. But if you thought that was bad, take a look at this next seed, where a different battle between 2 end cities ended up with one of the ships being impaled and completely destroyed. And you know, I always thought the end was the most peaceful dimension, but end cities can get pretty violent when it comes to defending their territories. However, the most broken end city is possibly the one on this seed, where an entire section was supposed to generate but somehow got cut off. And to make this even more rare, there's also an end gateway that generated right above the end ship. So when you beat the dragon on this seed, you'll immediately be teleported onto the ship. So now that we've seen the rarest and most unusual end cities, let's take a look at the rarest world generation ever found in the end. You might be thinking that because of the end's barren landscape, there can't be any strange world generation. However, these small islands can actually stack on top of each other. For example, on this seed, 2 small islands generated together, creating a 22 block tall island, which looks strange, but the bigger biggest stack possible is the one on this seed, which has 4 small islands right on top of each other, creating this rare one-of-a-kind endstone pillar, which is 26 blocks tall. But the fact that this is located over 25 million blocks away means that no sane player would ever try and find this. At this point, we've seen the rarest islands, end cities, and world generation. So now, how about we take a look at the rarest loot ever found in the end? Because across all end cities, there are 3 chests that contain Minecraft's strongest swords. The first is the Smite sword, which can be found on this seed, and has Smite 5 as well as 6 other enchantments. The second is the Sharpness sword on this seed, and has Sharpness 4 and 6 other enchantments as well. Also, it's not possible for a sword to have Sharpness 5, because that would remove the Sweeping Edge enchantment, because of how enchantments work. And next, we have the Bane of Arthropods sword, which also has 7 enchantments. Keep in mind, it gets exponentially rarer for a sword to have multiple enchantments, so you'll probably never come across something like this on your own, making this incredibly rare. And the only thing that's even more rare is you subscribing, because only about 0.00058% of the population is currently subscribed to this channel. But anyway, well, that's the best loot you can possibly find. On this seed, there's another chest which is even more unusual. This chest actually has the most iron ingots of any chest in the end dimension, and the fact that you need to travel almost 100,000 blocks to find this also makes it the most disappointing chest in the end. Now, here's some fun facts about the end dimension, which you probably didn't know. Did you know that the main end island is the same across every Minecraft update? Meaning that if you load a seed on the latest version, it also works all the way back to update 1.0, which was released 15 years ago. So for example, that island with no endstone also works on the first Minecraft update. And it's insane how little this dimension has changed in so long. And did you also know that before the combat update back in 2016, there were no outer islands, meaning that past the main end island, there was nothing but void all the way to the world border. Or at least that's what most people thought, because it was recently discovered that in extremely rare cases, you could find small amounts of endstone isolated deep in the void, such as on this seed, where a single endstone block generated all the way at the world border, with the closest other endstone being over 91,000 blocks away, making this the loneliest block in all of Minecraft. But since blocks could rarely generate out here in old versions, it was also possible for small islands to generate even before outer islands got added to the game. Let's go back to that seed with no main end island. What if I told you that by going a few hundred blocks away, you'll find a tiny island floating in the middle of nowhere, despite the seed not having a main island? Keep in mind, this isn't even a real outer island, since they're supposed to generate 1,000 blocks away. This is a remnant of old Minecraft, where blocks could rarely generate out here. And you'll find this small island on this seed no matter what update you play on, even on 1.0. But the biggest distant island in these old versions is on this seed, which managed to generate an island over 45,000 blocks in size. Keep in mind, these weren't even supposed to generate back then, as outer islands weren't added to the game, making this an incredibly rare phenomenon. Now, here's another fun fact about the end. If you travel about 371,000 blocks away from the main island, you'll notice that the end generation completely stops, and for 150,000 blocks, it's just void in all directions. And once you reach the other side, it may seem normal again. However, if you go even further out, you'll find more gaps between the islands. And if we zoom out on the end map, we can see this happens because the end has giant rings in its landscape, which stretch hundreds of thousands of blocks across. These are so massive that you can't even see the main island on this scale. This doesn't even look like Minecraft anymore. It's like some sort of planet. Now, let's take a look at the single rarest thing that's ever been found in the end dimension. But to see that, we need to start at the stronghold. Every end portal has a 1 in a trillion chance of being naturally completed with all 12 eyes, which automatically activates it, which is what happened on this seed. Or should I say that it happened to half the portal, because it was also cut off by a chunk border. But this also just happened to be perfectly intersecting with an ocean monument, which means this entire stronghold is underwater. However, the rarest thing about this is that the end portal also generated in the exact same spot where the Elder Guardian usually spawns, meaning the moment this Elder Guardian spawns in the world, it falls into the glitched portal and teleports directly inside the end. And when you enter this portal, it'll be on the platform with you, making this basically a death sentence if you're on survival. This is so rare that this is the only seed in existence that has an Elder Guardian spawning in the end. But if you thought that was crazy, you should see this next stronghold, which has a corrupted stone portal. And yes, this is naturally generated. This happened because a 12-eye portal perfectly aligned with this lava pit, which turned half its frames into stone, and even removed one of its portal blocks. Like the previous one, this is also a one-of-a-kind occurrence. But while that's one of the rarest portals, there's one that looks even stranger. This seed has a completed end portal that was sliced in half by a ruined portal. At this point, I don't even know if this is lucky or unlucky, because despite the damage, technically the portal still works, and you even get free loot from the ruined portal chest as well. But what if I told you there's an end portal that's even more broken? This seed has a ruined portal that generated right on top of the end portal. At first glance, the end portal looks completely destroyed. There's no point even trying to get to the end, right? Well, not exactly, because if you dig, you'll find that somehow a single end portal block survived the damage. And what's even crazier is that there's only 3 end portal frames, and none of them have Eyes of Ender. So how is this even possible? Well, remember that portal that was cut in half by a chunk border? The same thing happened here, and after the ruined portal generated, it happened to overwrite every single frame that had Eyes of Ender, as well as all the portal blocks except for one. This portal probably has some deeper meaning, like when things seem impossible, you can still find a way, or something like that. But there's no time to think about that, because now it's time to take a look at this next seed, which isn't as broken as the previous one, but strangely, the chunk border cut it in such a way that only activated 2 end portal blocks. Believe it or not, this is the only end portal like this that's ever been found. But speaking of rare portal rooms, this seed managed to generate 2 end portals right on top of each other. This happened because on Bedrock Edition, strongholds spawn randomly throughout the world, rather than in a ring formation like on Java, which means they can sometimes overlap, creating these kinds of strange sites. So now that we've seen the rarest portals, let's take a look at some insanely rare stronghold generations, such as on this seed, which holds the world record for the most fountains in a stronghold, with 5 of them spawning right next to each other. Feels more like a water park than a stronghold. So clearly, strongholds can have incredibly rare generation, but one of the rarest of all is on this seed, where you'll start off on a staircase and make your way down. Everything seems normal at first, but as you keep going deeper into the stronghold, you'll find long sets of stairs that just keep going further down, and every time you reach a lower level, there's even more stairs waiting for you, almost as if the stronghold doesn't end. And in fact, this stronghold has the longest recorded staircase in history, as you'll need to take 8 separate flights of stairs to reach the ground floor. And what's even stranger is that when you get to the bottom, you'll find an isolated prison cell, which feels like a maximum security jail that holds a dangerous prisoner. So you have to wonder what heinous crime someone committed to be sent down here. Probably something like not subscribing to this channel. So subscribe so you don't get sent down here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!